NXT, November the 26th, 2024. A decent episode of NXT. Actually, it might be borderline good with a lot going on. So we're going to get into that. The Iron Survivor matches for Deadline are shaping up. And we got a bunch of other WWE IDs. We're not going to go through those. We're only going to talk about one. That being Smiley Kylie Ray. And we'll talk about that at the end of the show. So we start the show with Ridge Holland, who actually came out to the Chase University theme song, basically trolling the audience, saying that he told you so, and he's going to win the title. Later in the show, Trick Williams came out, says that, Ridge Holland is pure evil. It's pure evil in Ridge Holland. All he knows how to do is destroy. And if he wins the NXT title, he's going to destroy NXT. To which Ridge Holland said, "You're done right." And then said that controversy follows him wherever he goes. And this is interrupted by Eric Bischoff. Yes, that Eric Bischoff from WCW. That Eric Bischoff. Who says he will be coming to NXT live next week. So he's going to have some type of involvement in NXT next week. It's got a lot of people talking. Well, a lot of the AEW fans, of course, they're sniffing out the conspiracy that he talks bad about Tony Khan because he's under WWE contract and now he's doing stuff with NXT. I could just imagine that it's not Tony Khan that's probably going to be the one flipping tables. It's more than likely going to be Court Bauer. Court Bauer booked Eric Bischoff for a show. It's called Eric Bischoff's One Shot. It's an opportunity for Eric Bischoff to, I guess, kayfabe book MLW for one night. And I forget when that show actually is. But they've been promoting it for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks now. And now here's Eric Bischoff making appearances on NXT. Oh, brother. Now, we don't know what he's going to do yet, but it's intriguing to see that he's going to be involved. And, man, they're really throwing everything at this Ridge Holland program, isn't it? They killed Chase U. Now they're throwing Eric Bischoff at it. They're throwing a lot of stuff at this Ridge Holland angle. So this ought to be interesting. I don't know what Eric Bischoff does or what kind of power or authority they're going to give him. But he said he wants to find out what makes these guys tick. So that must have been a clue to what the I guess the match stipulation is likely going to be. But we have no earthly idea. I'm okay with this. He also announced that X-Pac will be there next week. That got less attention, but that's also very cool. So, NXT's, using cameos sparingly, which I don't mind. The Eric Bischoff cameo was fun, and I'm pretty sure the X-Pac stuff is going to be fun too. And what they have done with cameos is basically they find a way to weave them into the story that they're already telling. So it's not really a distraction. But Eric Bischoff is very random. Extremely random. Has nothing to do with this entire product. So I'm actually interested in what's going to happen here. Tangentially connected to this, there was a vignette of Andre Chase cleaning out the space that was used for Chase University. So he's putting everything in a box and carrying it out. And somebody calls out to him, "Hey, Mr. Chase." And he turns around, kind of like Bret Hart in that one commercial where he gets told by a kid, "Go get him, champ." It was a similar call out for Andre Chase, but we don't see who it is. I saw a pretty good theory that it might be Bodie Hayward, who of course, was one of the first kids from Chase University. I think he got fired 2 years ago, maybe. I don't know if what he got fired for doing, but he did some shots for AEW, and I haven't seen him in a long time. I haven't seen him in over a year, I think. So Is it going to be Bodie Hayward showing up to NXT? I doubt it. But it would be interesting if that would be the usage of him, is for him to show back up as Chase University was closed down, because he was one of the first students of Chase U. So that could be, well, one of the first on-screen students of Chase U. You know, you can't assume that just because they didn't show up on camera that they were not students of Chase University. So they're still dragging out what they're going to do with Duke Hudson and Thea Hale. So they're really trying to milk this storyline. They're not giving it all to you in one night. So you had Ridge Holland trolling using Chase U, and you had Chase leaving. So I'm guessing they're going to do something with either Thea or Duke Hudson pretty soon, as everyone is going their own way. All right, the Iron Survivor Challenge matches were tonight. Ethan Page defeated Axiom. This match was very long, and I hated the finish. So Axiom is being set up for a Razor's Edge off the second rope. Nathan Fraser is screaming at Axiom to do something, so Axiom basically yanks him into a Hurricane Rana. I don't know if it's off the second rope or off the top rope. It doesn't matter for the purpose of what I'm about to say. So there's a Hurricane Rana off the second rope. Ethan Page, of course, takes time to sell it. Axiom is in the corner basically waiting for Ethan Page to stand up so he could do his running kick move, right? And as Ethan Page staggers to his feet, Axiom comes running towards him, gets clotheslined, and pinned. So either with a top rope Hurricane Rana or a second rope Hurricane Rana, either one is off of a pretty good height. Within 30 seconds of that move occurring, probably within 20 seconds, Ethan Page wins the match. Because after all this stuff they've done to each other, a clothesline is the finish. If they don't get this indie shit out of here, indie brain rot, that's what that is. They did the old interruption gimmick, as Ethan Page talked about people betting money against him is going to lose it. Nathan Fraser and him have words where Ethan Page bragged that he just beat the one who carries the weight on their team, to which Nathan Fraser starts downplaying Axiom's worth, and Axiom and him started to argue. They're interrupted by Wes Lee, who has shaved his locks off. Now he looks like a Huxtable. Very, very strange decision. I mean, he doesn't look bad. He just looks weird. He got a box head now. Why would he give himself the box head? I don't understand this. In any event, before he really gets to finish a thought, here comes Javon Evans. And as he barely gets words out of his mouth, OTM come out there. They want the tag team championship. So they brawl with Axiom and Nathan Fraser. This brawl continues forevermore, like these things have been doing for several weeks now. Nothing but brawling. Just pointless, mindless brawling. So then, after all of this, Ava is making last chance matches after Kalani Jordan loses to Julia in a really good match. It was a really good match. That was the other Iron Survivor qualifier match. Julia actually countered the split leg moonsault into a triangle choke, which I thought was pretty good. They did some kind of spinning slam from Julia onto Kalani Jordan, and she kicked right out of it into a pin of her own, which is very weird. But Julia ended up winning with the Northern Lights bomb. So, Kalani lost, but like I said before, all is not lost. Ava Raine wants to make a last chance fatal 4-way match. Eddie Thorpe complained about this because he felt he should be the only one who gets another chance, because he was the only one who had interference in his match. Ava was like, look, I'm just doing the best that I can on this thing. The tag teams are getting in each other's faces. They're pushing, they're shoving. She makes a tag team battle royal next week and says that the winners of the battle royal will be the number one contenders. So as she's trying to leave, Eddie Thorpe grabbed her by the wrist. She, in the worst acting this side of... I couldn't tell you, man. I've seen better acting in high school dramas. I swear to God. She's like, Eddie, don't touch me. Like her teeth is like 90% of her face, right? So it's like, Eddie, don't touch me. It's like, what was that, Jim Carrey, Fire Marshal Bill? Let me tell you something. So, she gets knocked down, believe it or not. As the tag teams are pushing and shoving each other, the door hits Ava and she goes down. She went down like she was John F. Kennedy, like she had gotten shot. We go to commercial, we come back, Shawn Michaels is there. Eddie Thorpe's trying to explain what happened, and Shawn shoves Eddie Thorpe 2 or 3 times and then grabs him by his shirt and says, don't you ever put your hands on her. And then he throws Eddie Thorpe out of the building. Well, verbally tells him to leave. And Eddie Thorpe sulks away. And, wow. The Shawn Michaels getting in Eddie Thorpe's face. I can't believe it was Eddie Thorpe, of all people, though. Of all the people to get, the Shawn Michaels rub, it was Eddie Thorpe. This guy is never going to make you any money, Shawn. This guy's not going to make you any money, Ava. I've seen enough of the NXT Tatanka to realize that this guy probably is not good. I know that they have this whole thing about him being trained by the New Japan Dojo and all that. I don't see it. I don't see this guy being the one that's going to make you any money, but at least they're trying to do something interesting with this guy. And, bringing Shawn into it is very fun. So Eddie Thorpe is about ready to turn heel. It's boiling. And he's got a decent reason. He did get cheated. And he was the only person in the match that didn't actually get eliminated by Clean. So, in any event, the last chance matches are next week. That ought to be fun. The tag team battle royal is next week. That ought to be fun too. So it's going to be a really loaded show. It's going to be a lot of people floating around Full Sail, or not Full Sail, but the Performance Center next week. That ought to be fun. Ought to be really fun. Ashante Thea Adonis and Nikita Lyons. Oh my goodness. They decided they were going to do some Days of Our Lives shit right in the middle of NXT, which is funny because people hate it, but I think it's probably some of the best stuff that they do. So they're sitting around a table, like, Saved by the Bell or something. And she basically just wanted Ashante Thea Adonis' attention. So he says that, well, you got it, but that train has left the station, but I'm trying to get back on it. And he admitted that he did text her. And she was like, okay, I kind of like that. And then Carmen overhears this. Carmen Petrovich overhears that Ashante Thea Adonis did text Nikita Lyons, even after he lied and said he didn't. So Nikita says, oh, look, if it's going to be a competition between a little girl like you and a grown woman like me, it ain't no competition. So she storms off, and her feelings are all hurt. And Ashante Thea Adonis is like, oh, man. He's like the Charlie Brown in this situation. Every time he tries to get close, the ball just moves, and he ends up on his back. This is humorous. So Nikita Lyons and Carmen Petrovich are going to have a match next week. They're going to have a match because Nikita Lyons is a badder bitch than Carmen Petrovich is. That's the impetus for this match. Certainly not fighting over this guy, but they're fighting because Nikita Lyons was being a bitch to Carmen Petrovich. But at least it ought to be fun. It ought to be interesting. We'll see how that turns out because you have to ask pertinent questions when it comes to Nikita Lyons and her mobility. Okay. Lola Vice defeats Ren Sinclair. It was okay. Charlie Dempsey got rid of that dumbass mustache, that silly caterpillar that he had on his face for the last couple of months. He got rid of it finally. Lola Vice won with the spinning back fist. Then the story of the match is that Lola Vice was at times at the mercy of Ren Sinclair, only for Ren to not practice killer instinct. One such example was when Charlie Dempsey motioned for her to stomp Lola Vice's hand while Lola Vice's hand was while she was resting her hand on the ring stairs. Dempsey was motioning for her to stomp the hand, and she didn't do it. So that's just one of the little tidbits that you're supposed to pay attention to for later. Lola Vice, after the match, called out Jada Parker and says that she wants Jada Parker in the underground. That ought to be fun. And, of course, this match itself came because Lynn Sinclair was in Lola Vice's business about Jada Parker in the first place, because Jada Parker did hit her in the face with a sponge brick, one of the softest looking bricks of all time. One brick that shattered into a million pieces the moment it touched her face. One of the worst brick spots I've ever seen, next to the Keith Lee brick spot. So this match was fine. It wasn't too offensive. Ren Sinclair needs a personality, but she's not too bad. The men's North American title, Tony D'Angelo defeated Shawn Spears. This made me want to puke projectile vomit, and it almost gave me violent diarrhea. This guy was on television for I don't know how long, but every second that ticked by with Shawn Spears on the screen, I felt more and more ill. But Tony D'Angelo won. Afterwards, Tony D'Angelo brawled with Brooks Jensen for a little bit before he got attacked by the big guy named Nico. So Nico is the guy that is going to help Shawn Spears. Now, all right, I don't like that Tony D'Angelo is intertwined with Shawn Spears, but we got to take the bitter with the sweet, I suppose. We got to take the bitter with the sweet. And the main event was Fallon Henley defeating Tatum Paxley with the Fame Master to retain the women's North American title. Earlier in the night, JC Jane and Jasmine Nix went to menace Tatum Paxley as she was playing with dolls. They took the doll thing, they ripped the head off of one of them or something like that, saying as long as they're around, Tatum Paxley would never be a champion. And then they called her a freak. To which Tatum Paxley says that JC Jane's past is going to haunt her. The match was fine. It was actually pretty good. They did all kinds of shit to each other. I mean, they was just throwing moves out. I mean, Tatum Paxley bust out a 450. My goodness. There was a pump handle throw by Fallon Henley that looked pretty dope too. In the end, Fallon Henley just wins the match with the Fame Master after they got done throwing shit at each other. I would have liked for Fallon Henley to cheat a little bit more, but it's clear that they're moving on from this singles match. After the match, Gigi Dolan's theme song plays as Fatal Influence is attacking Tatum Paxley. So as they beating her up, Gigi Dolan's theme starts to play. She and Tatum Paxley fight the three of them off. And that's how we end the show, with the big return of Gigi Dolan. Look, don't dislike Gigi. She actually returned over the weekend in a house show. She actually showed up at a house show. She looks a little bit thinner than she was before. She looked a little bit more motivated as well. So hopefully that's the case. Like Gigi, not really sure how she's going to fit in with all the killers they got in the women's division now, but it's always good to have a little bit more depth for that second women's title. So I don't know if this should be the main event, but it was fine. It was good. It was a good match between two girls. So all in all, with the exception of Shawn Spears, which of course ripped my very soul from my bones, I enjoyed NXT. Now, unfortunately, the Tony D'Angelo and Shawn Spears match was a substantial part of the show. But other than that, I enjoyed the show for the most part. So, over the weekend, I forget which day it was, WWE announced a new WWE ID, and it was Smiley Kylie Ray. So, Kylie Ray is an interesting case. She was one of the first women, along with Britt Baker, that was signed to AEW in 2019. Cody Rhodes hyped her up quite a bit, and even went on podcasts saying how she was a better version of Bayley because her smiles are real and all this kind of stuff. And I think maybe 90 days later or something like that, she was out. She was gone. It's still a mystery 5 years later why she left. She found safe haven in TNA, and she was there for a while, couple of months, and then she quit TNA. She walked away from TNA. I believe she actually had 2 runs in TNA in that time frame, and she walked away from both of them. She has quit the indies multiple times, and despite the fact that she is talented, she does have some talent. You have to ask the question, not only how many chances do people get, but what has changed. And I know in that time, there was said to be some problems with substance abuse and other mental health struggles, and perhaps that was it. Would you bring her in to be the star of your division? Probably not. Is she a good mechanic and, could help other people? She could be like, Stevie Richards for the girls in a new generation. That could be fine, But her as a gatekeeper is probably the best usage of her if you're going to bring her in. And a lot of people are very happy for her because, she's a long-term indie wrestler who has always dreamed of going to WWE. They gave her a tryout match, I think, last year or earlier this year. Last year being 2023 or earlier this year being 2024. And she wrestled on main event as Brianna Ray. And nothing came of it. But she said it was a positive experience for her. So, we don't know. We shall see. But, I mean, if history tells you anything, if somebody washes out of AEW and TNA and the Indies, why would you want to give them money? But at the same time, if she had struggles with alcohol and mental illness or whatever, and she straightened that stuff out, and she's still young enough to go, she can be a solid enough gatekeeper in NXT. So that'll be fine. All right. So again, mostly enjoyed NXT without the. If we scrape all of the Shawn Spears off the bottom of it, it still shines quite nicely. I'll talk to you guys later.
Old non-aggression. Once that lesson sets in, you'll see a session. But you got an affection for no progression, regression. The best don't.